Hey Divines, welcome back to Sagacious Saturdays, and for those who have just joined, again, welcome. This is our second session, so please go to find some time and go through last week. There will be some important links referenced here today in this session. And for those of you that did actually listen in and take part and actually try and work through their own question, how did you get on? So today's topic is limiting beliefs. So last week we identified that an acronym for fear was false evidence appearing real, and linked that the opposite definition of self-love is found in not accepting ourselves and or the circumstance that surround us in that actual moment. This then holds us in a place of limitation with the confliction of faith for the future versus fear for the future. This poses a question of what could we actually achieve if the focus was directed away from fear and then directed towards faith. Just to clarify, I use the word or term faith not in the context of any religion, but purely on the belief and trust within ourselves and our own capabilities. So where do limiting beliefs actually come from? For me, for the most part, I believe they actually are installed in our consciousness as children. Our spirit enters the human form and then we learn. As babies, we put our senses to the test. Then we learn to verbally communicate as we get older. We learn what's accepted as right and wrong, such as how to speak, how to dress, the type of people to connect with. But this has all been learned based on the belief of another individual. So how do we know it to be true? Because we've been told. The problem with that is that our beliefs and our values have been based on another person's possible limiting attitudes and behaviors without any questioning. And without questioning, we run the risk of continuously repeating generational trauma and not exploring and evolving into our authentic self. The great possible solution here is that we can unlearn to relearn. Let's break this down a little further and look at something called a drama triangle. The drama triangle has 3 elements to it. So we've got the prosecutor, which is normally the baddie. The rescuer, we'll call them the hero. And then we have the victim. Because we're discussing limiting beliefs, we will focus on the victim element of this triangle. So here's the scenario. Picture this. You were made redundant from your job after being in that position for 7 months. It's now been 3 months without receiving a wage. You applied for several job positions with no sign of being accepted for any of them. One day you get up and can't be bothered to get dressed. No job search got completed that day, but what you did do was sit and question yourself. More days and weeks pass by, and by now you've totally given up. Your thought process is, why me? I didn't deserve this. How could they do this to me? What's the point? This scenario demonstrates someone who has fallen into the victim mindset, a place of hopelessness and dependency. Even though it's a completely natural state of emotion to be in after experiencing a difficult situation, we can never allow ourselves to be stuck there, but instead hold accountability for our emotions as we are the only one responsible for them. So let's look at one of the questions from the scenario. How could they do that to me? This is a question that comes from a belief, something that has been learned and it is attached to. As a coach, in this scenario, I would pose the question to this victim and ask why they thought that they deserve to keep their job role over another individual. Hypothetically, a possible and unsurprising response could be that they've responded and said, they grew up where they were always top of the class, top marks, always got chosen first for the sports teams and for plays, the leading role in plays. This then continued through their adult life, where they worked hard to make sure they were always available to do additional tasks, whether that would be, to do the drinks round or lightening the workload for their colleagues and or manager. This hypothetical response screams validation. The need to be accepted, wanted and or needed is in control here, causing an emotional unbalance, as rejection is not something that has been accepted and possibly on a very low level experienced. What do you think? Because of this, the mind, which is designed to protect us, goes into overdrive and forces the barriers up for us not to experience this again, which leads us back to the questions which will limit us. We can choose to view life based on feelings, faith, or the facts. But emotionally responding to a situation is detrimental to making the shift in perception, which is required to move out of the victim mentality and onto the next level of consciousness. I hope this makes sense, and if this scenario is hard for you to resonate with, I hope you can use the example and adapt it to something more relevant. The main point here is when you pose a question to yourself that stops you from moving towards something positive, ask yourself this: where did that come from? And prepare yourself to dig deep and locate the source depending on the situation. This isn't this week's question, by the way, that's coming up. But first, I just want to thank you again for your presence. There will always be so much more to uncover in these sessions, but if you would like the sessions to be explored in more depth, or if there's a particular area that you want to discuss, then please do let me know. You can catch me tomorrow for a weekly guidance, general tarot and oracle read here. Weekdays on my IG page for daily guidance, and then back here next week for another Sagacious Saturday. So the question that I'm gifting you this week, and I would really like you to dig deep with this one and spend some time, some undisturbed time, and ask yourself, what is it that is really stopping you from getting what you want? I would love to hear what you've discovered. Thank you so much again, and have a blessed day. Ashe.